Thank you so much for coming. I've just arrived with Marianne Elliott and Jennifer Pike, and here I've had the honour to meet Andy Burnham, Mayor of the Greater City of Manchester, and the Town Council, and Lutfur Rahman, who's the cultural lead for the Town Council. And well, you'll find out why we're here. So I'm going to ask Andy, would you say a few words of explanation?
I certainly will, because I've got the proud duty on behalf of all of the great people of this wonderful city to welcome a true national treasure into our midst this afternoon. Vanessa, you're really, really welcome. And, you know, you're just yards here from, obviously, the site of the Peterloo protest, suffragettes. You can see Emmeline, our Emmeline over there on the chair.
And this is Sylvia.
Absolutely. You know, this is a city that knows how to make its voice heard, knows how to speak out, knows how to do what's right, campaign for the things that make life worth living. And when you said you wanted to come here to speak up for the arts, for culture, for the things that we all love, then I knew that the people of Manchester would want me to be here to welcome you and to support you in your campaign in speaking up for music, for the arts, for all of the things that bring this city to life, because this is a city of poets, of painters, of performers, musicians. It's in the DNA of this place, and it always has been. Creativity runs through the streets of Manchester, often telling the people's stories. But that's what this place has done for years, and we've got amazing cultural institutions in this city. I won't reel them all off because I'll miss some out.
Reel some of them off.
Well, okay then. The Royal Exchange. You must have performed at the Royal Exchange over the years.
Yes.
I mean, you know, we love it dearly, and you know, the Opera House. Then we've got our small music venues down there, the Deaf Institute, Gorilla. We've got Band on the Wall. We've got. Well, come on, everybody. What's your favourite venue? We've got so many, haven't we? Home. We've got Home, which is a new venue which replaced the Corner House a number of years ago. You know, we've got the big venues, the arenas. There's just stuff happening in this city all of the time. It's always, as you know, got a massive sort of buzz going on, and that is largely down in many ways to the City Council, who've always backed culture. And Vanessa, I'll say this, you know, we do like to talk here, and we do like to make our point heard, but we do put our money where our mouth is. Manchester City Council have always invested in culture through the Manchester International Festival and other things that they've backed. But as Greater Manchester, we recently gave an increase in funding to our arts organisations, and I'm talking about the Bolton Octagon, I'm talking about the Bury Met, all of the organisations in our outer boroughs. We back culture because we know it brings life into the city, visitors into the city, atmosphere into the city. And you know what? Before I hand back to you, and it's why I'm so glad to welcome you today. What will all this be worth if we come through this crisis and everything we care about is gone? The places that we love are gone. What will we feel? Will we feel that it's been worth it to go through all of this if those much loved institutions are not even there anymore? What will that feel like? It would be awful, wouldn't it? And I'm also talking more than just culture, our football clubs, our rugby league clubs, everything, all of it. That is what we love here. And anyone who's prepared to speak up for it, we will welcome into this city, and we will give a platform, but we love it, and we will say, all power to your elbow, you know? Let's protect what we all care about, and let's come through this crisis together as a country that's got some hope and some sense of optimism for the future. You're giving us a bit of that today, Vanessa, but on behalf of everyone here, thank you for doing this national rallying call for the arts and culture that you are doing. You've got our full support, and I'm sure everyone here will want to show their appreciation to you for coming here to City Centre Manchester today as part of your campaign. So thank you very much, Vanessa, and over to you.
Well, Andy, thank you. I'd never performed here in the library, but my brother, Corin, he did. And I performed in Manchester an awful lot of times. I won't say how many because it just gets repetitive and it's not to the point, except one I do want to mention specifically, which is that in 1969, I was invited by Michael Elliott and Caspar Vrede and the 69 Theatre Company to come and play in Daniel Deronda, which had been written by Caspar Vrede, and it was in the University Theatre in 1969. And I'll come to the most important thing, which is Michael Elliott, but to me it means a lot that it was in Manchester that I had to find a doctor so I could test was I pregnant or not. And I was! I was! My son was revealed here on a little pink blob on a bit of paper.
Honorary Mancunian, I think that makes it.
So, what I want to say before, by the way, Lutfer, are you happy to speak now, or are you going to speak after? Will you speak now? Would you? Right now would be great. I just got one more thing to say, please, which is that was when I met Michael Elliott. And meeting Michael Elliott and being directed by Michael Elliott in 1969, and then later in his production at the Royal Exchange, and then later at the Roundhouse in London, of The Lady from the Sea by Ibsen. That was when, and also not in Manchester, at Stratford-on-Avon, in As You Like It by Shakespeare. This work with Michael, you know how you often don't realise the meaning of something. You know you value somebody, you know you treasured them as a person, you're thrilled to have worked with them, etc., etc. But it takes a bit of time to go by before you realise, oh my Lord, that's why I think the way I do. Part of the way I think, the way I do. That's how I learned what vision means. It's not just a word slapped on a piece of paper. It's something that comes from the soul. It's about soul, the soul of a play, the soul of the person who wrote it, the soul of the people who perform it, the souls, which is why there are skills and why there is something that's so important that we who live now must never, never let it go. So I want to turn to Lutfer, who I met for the first time last night on the telephone. Lutfer, thank you so much for talking with me, because I think, well, you say what you want, of course, but I know there's a big plan for Manchester and the arts, and I guess you may be going to tell us a bit about it.
Well, first of all, Vanessa, thank you so much, as Andy said, for coming here and kind of shining a spotlight on the crisis that the arts and culture are facing. Culture and arts and creativity are an integral part of what Manchester has become and the development and the success of Manchester. And it touches people's lives in many, many ways. You know, we see it as a form of entertainment, but actually it has a wider impact than that. It has an impact on the kind of city we are, it makes a city livable. It has an impact on people's livelihoods and jobs. It has an impact on people's health and well-being. And for young people we know who have a varied experience of culture within the curriculum are able to navigate through life much more successfully than those young people that don't have that experience. So it's absolutely critical that we do all we can to try and support this industry during this crisis, but also to try and re-stimulate and revive the industry when we do get back to normal. So that's why it's important that we don't lose sight of the challenges that are facing us in the coming months to this industry. So therefore, your campaign and the campaign that I know Andy at Greater Manchester is doing, and we're doing here in Manchester, is really important. And a lot of local authorities across the country are doing the same. I had the Shadow Minister come to Manchester to see what we're doing around our recovery plan. We've worked with the sector here, we've worked with the institutions, we've worked with the sector leaders and the professionals to try and champion, but also to raise an awareness of the critical nature of this work. And a lot of it is not recognised. A lot of freelance workers, a lot of people that work on a kind of production by production basis, they're not getting the support that is required. But to come out of this, and cinemas, for example, is another industry, for the big production houses not to be releasing movies despite the fact that cinemas are open, is presenting a massive challenge to all of these companies and these cinemas. Whether they'll be able to survive this crisis is going to be a big question for us, and therefore everything that we can do to kind of raise that awareness, to keep the fight going, to make sure that we protect what we've got here and make sure that we do have that foundation to be able to build back and build back better, is going to be really critical. So thank you so much for coming here and doing this. And I know this is not the end of it. We've got to carry on this fight, and every single day we've just got to keep on making sure that we make the noise, we make the ask, and we keep demanding the support for this industry in this such a crucial and valuable sector. Thank you.
From what you were saying is about generations, because I'm going to be, am I 84 or 83? Well, one or the other. So in me are 3 working generations, although there could be physically 4, but actually 3 working generations. And I was saying a moment ago about the director, Michael Elliott, who I worked with, and what he shared and gave to me, the actress. And it makes me so grateful in the deepest possible way to be able to be here and introduce the finest theatre director in what we call the UK, and that is Marianne Elliott, the daughter of Michael Elliott. Marianne, I think you're there. Brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I wanted to say something that maybe not a lot of people actually know in this country. The plight of the arts is seriously worrying right now. And this isn't something that's going to go away. Our industry has been decimated for months, and it's looking at months ahead of no income at all for many, many thousands of us. Manchester is where I learnt my trade. It was where I was brought up, in Stockport. And I worked for many years at the Royal Exchange. Like all theatres in the country, the Manchester theatres are in dire need of support. Theatre's not just about shows, though. Theatre's about connecting to the local community, speaking to young adults, going into schools, working with the vulnerable sectors all year round. I was fortunate enough to direct 2 shows that brought huge economic value to the UK economy, and they were seen globally by millions. War Horse and The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time. These shows were both created by freelancers. Now, freelancers are stage managers, technicians, actors, designers, painters, prop makers. Every single person that works on a show is usually a freelancer. Many freelancers, 65,000 to be precise, have had no income at all since March. In the latest winter job scheme, support scheme, the Chancellor seems to imply that the arts aren't viable. But how can venues pay employees a part-time wage when there is no job and there is no way of making money? Any theatres that are running shows right now are running at a loss. None of them are making any money. The arts are viable. They've always been viable. The theatre has been viable for thousands of years. The theatre industry was worth £7 billion in the year before COVID. And when this pandemic ends, which it will end, one day it will end, we, the theatre industry, can be at the forefront of drawing people back to city centres. We can be at the centre of a community mentally repairing itself after a trauma. And we will all need to be mentally repaired, and we will all need to do that together, not alone, not in isolation. But we need to ensure that all those skills, honed by years of experience, are still there when we desperately need them. We mustn't lose these craftsmen and these craftswomen. We need to act now before it's too late. Those skills could be lost forever. And we need to nurture the next generation. We need to make the next war horse. Thank you.
Oh, bravo. So she said it as it is. So I'm just pausing a second to think. So I'm going to read you a message. I've got a copy for you, Andy. A message from Trevor Nunn. Well, here you are again. Brilliant. Here's a copy. But I'm going to read it out for everybody here. That's your read. Yes. So, well, pretty well anybody in the UK who performs or acts has acted with Trevor Nunn, and for him, I mean. He's a director, not an actor. Here's his message. For most of my career, I knew that Manchester Library wasn't a collection of books. It was a pioneering theatre. Then, from its opening season, I've known the thrilling, daring possibilities of the space we know as the Royal Exchange. To couple that with the name of Michael Elliott is to realise that I'm talking about achievements at the pinnacle of theatre in this country. Now the future of theatre in Manchester is threatened, gravely, devastatingly threatened. But so is theatre in Liverpool, where my friend Gemma Bodinetz has run the Playhouse for the last 17 years, and theatre in Nottingham, where I remember I saw the great John Neville play Coriolanus in the opening production of this groundbreaking playhouse, and theatre in Sheffield at the unique Crucible, and in Leeds at the special Splendid Playhouse, and theatre in a dearly beloved venue in Newcastle, the Theatre Royal, where I took the RSC every year. Theatre in Bolton, where Ian McKellen went to grammar school. Theatre in Ipswich, where I grew up and had my first Shakespeare experience. Theatre in Coventry, where I did my first professional productions with a permanent company, with the actors going out to schools to perform. Unheard of. And performing in local factories. Unheard of. Happy days. A list of theatres around the country that I love have provided me with wonderful memories, and I could go on for another 10 minutes. But all those individual special theatres in their individual special communities are desperately threatened, or in some cases, possibly, without a miracle, doomed to disappear or be altogether crippled by this crisis we are all suffering. That doesn't mean only that we stand to lose these iconic buildings. It means we lose our national identity, our culture, our expression, our meaning. Theatre holds up the mirror to our age, our beliefs, our errors, our neglect, our dreams, our possibilities. Theatre has the power to change the world, to change audiences, to bring about profound, collective, spiritual experiences in a way that the two-dimensional cinema screen and the small screen at home never can. Well, all this has happened before. The plague closed down all the London theatres in the 16th and early 17th centuries several times. Back then, the vast wealth was in the hands of the nobility, the landowners. Several of them came to the rescue of the globe, the rose, the swan. Now, the vast, beyond all imagination wealth. I couldn't quite get the breath to say that word. Now, the vast, beyond all imagination wealth is in the hands of multi-billionaires of today's corporate world. I beg, we beg of those vastly wealthy individuals or groups, please come to the rescue. Save our culture, save our country's identity, and continue in the knowledge that your wealth has restored meaning to this desolate world. The saviours could be celebrated for all time. Amazon, Facebook, Apple, you could save our history, save our laughter, save our delight, save our belief. Theatre is the world in microcosm. You could save the world. Trevor Nunn. Thanks, Trevor. I hope what I'm going to say is, I'm not expecting you to answer, Andy. Please understand, I'm not expecting the answer.
I'm a politician, I won't.
But could it be possible that the Manchester Town Council could open up an appeal fund so that if any of us who have contacts, etc., and take a bit of time to contact various people, like ArcelorMittal, for instance. I don't know where I'll get with them, but I'll have a go. Do you think it might be possible to open up an appeal fund so one could say to those who have this kind of money, which is huge, or even those who say yes, for the sake of the future, I want to save the present, so I put in my £5. Every £5 helps. So I'm just bouncing this in your direction, because I don't know if it's possible. Too many things become impossible these days, don't they?